5-3, and Alcaraz broke back. So yeah, well done to Alcaraz as well, because he did struggle in this match. He started very poorly, 6-1's first set. I mean, we've seen that before from him in Grand Slams. He did that against Djokovic in the Wimbledon final. Everybody got a bit worried that it's going to be a blowout, but then he came back and he actually won that match. So it was on the cards for quite a while that Alcaraz might fight back, but Zverev held his nerve and held his serve. Most of all, he was serving very, very high first serve percentage, and if he keeps doing that, he can win the tournament, because when he's serving like that, he's also playing really well from the baseline and not making any really unforced errors, at least not many. While Alcaraz in this match was all over the place with his shot making. I think when someone is serving in that way against you, you get a bit stressed. You need to do something when you're in the ball, in the rally. You need to kind of come up with something, take advantage, and go for something. You feel stressed, and that's my reading of what was happening to Alcaraz, that he was trying too much, and he has these days when he can play a little bit erratically, and he did for the first 2.5 sets, perhaps, but he did not have any really easy service games compared to Zverev. Zverev just kept hammering the pressure. There was a pretty key moment, I would say, in the 4th set where Alcaraz was close to getting a break point. It was juice, long rally, 5-5, and Zverev played an amazing, few points there, managed to hold serve, and then he broke Alcaraz in the next game. So rough one for Carlitos. We all want to see him do well. I think he's a great ambassador for tennis, and I love his game. But I'm very impressed by Zverev, who's now back to the form he was in when he got injured with that ankle rolling that happened against Nadal in the French Open 2022. But before we...
Blah, 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 blah. Everyone loves Carlitos. Okay, let me see. It's 4:20. So the Ham may come on. I meant to come on a little bit before now, but I didn't. So sorry about that. And if we don't get a conversation going, this doesn't have to be a long call. I do want to go through some of the scores around the league. Logic closed at 0.0372, which is I guess that's up. It doesn't have a green, but I think it's up. CLNV, which is still on my radar here, 0.039. Finger closed at 246. Up slightly. Metamaterials looks like it closed up 0.0589. HNRA, which is the SPAC part of HNRC. And if you own HNRC, you own a little bit of this. It actually closed at 215. So that was up 13 cents. They're doing a funding. So what happened is the SPAC, de-SPACed, got destroyed, which is a setup. So Wall Street can suck all the profits out up front. But in my projections of the price, I only took 25% of my projections to give a target price. And oddly enough, that's where after this raise, that's the target, $12 to $15 a share. So it's just usury, illegal theft that Wall Street does. I pity the fool that has to go to Wall Street. MULN closed down 50 cents at 663 after 100 for 1 split. ZJYL still trading. It's down in the aftermarket, but it closed at 196.40, up 44.95. Nice move. Then the company with the new future, Jeremy chose a future instead of extinction, I guess. I just think he stretched it out. He got a stay of extinction for his company. It's at 340 in the aftermarket. The bid is $2. Last trade, though, was 395. So in fairness, that stock is up 30% since the reverse split. That's vocal. They only have something like 600,000 shares trading, and I think the float is much smaller than that. So maybe you get a spike in that stock before it starts downward. I wouldn't hang out too long. HNRC 0.035 now. I guess it closed actually at 0.0304, which was, I don't know, flat. And then GDC, and we can go over other names if you want, 189 on GDC, flat essentially. So there we go. Hey, KYP. No ham KYP yet. We might get a ham visit. He called me earlier, but I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive, but I wasn't live. So I just let him know I've come on now. We don't have to stay live long if we run out of things to say and talk about. There's Phil. ZJYL closed at 211. So Phil, this stupid charting I do, this is amateur hour charting, but it's always worked for me somewhat. I think right in this range, that's a big, thick range, probably around 290 to 300, 310. If it breaks through that, I think it certainly goes back to its previous high at around 500. But who knows? Maybe it can really get some legs and take off. Hey, Jeff Cotto. AP, I'm confused by finger red number one. That's just because I'm an idiot. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think what confuses me with HNRC, and I have their press releases here somewhere. Well, I can't find them quickly. I should have gotten it out. But what confuses me is I believe the net asset value per share is $2.32 right now. And the company is going to give a dividend of here it is. Here's HNRC. Let me see if I have the press release here. There's the worldwide diversified. They distributed worldwide diversified a year ago. One of the reasons I didn't sell Logic right away for myself is worldwide was actually distributed in May. They distributed it in December, but then FINRA said that's too much. So we've got to reset the distribution date, and I think it was May. The 25% rule, something like that. Okay, here's HNRC. There's both this is September 21, 2023. It's both a negative and a positive in it. The company has signed a $10 million underwriting commitment for acquisitions and for a listing to a major exchange. That right there is where I think the risk is. If they signed it with a guy like Jeff Easton, it might as well sign a deal with Mistopheles. The company anticipates uplisting in the fourth quarter. So a merger and uplisting should be right around now. The benefits an underwriter can provide, a real underwriter, and maybe he found one, to the company include acquisition and expansion capital, market awareness, and analyst coverage. That's the way it used to be. But if you go to Jeffrey Lind, you're just going for a poke in the hay, and then he doesn't remember your name or number. Okay, and then the good news, AP, the first paragraph of this release, HNRC, now known as Cunningham, announced today the successful completion of the sale of its subsidiary assets at an enterprise value of $18 million to realize 15 cents per share. So, okay, that's one. They did the HNRA September one. When the HNRA right here, when the HNRA business combination is completed, HNRC will be able to provide a liquidity event for shareholders expected to be within 180 days of that closing. My stupid eyesight. All right, so then you get to their November 14th earnings financial period, September 30, 2023, which they reported November 14th. Key highlights for the 9 months ending Q3. Total revenue reached 15 million. Total earnings amounted to 9 million. Earnings per share rose to 6 cents from 5 cents. Notably, the company achieved a net asset value of 62 cents per share in Q3 2023. And then the highlights, they acquired 100% of Cunningham. They filed for a name change and then realized a value of 15 cents per share in current energy assets held by subsidiaries, with the potential for a 10% per share future dividend. Well, call me an idiot, but I don't know what that means. Is that 10% off the stock price, 10% off of the asset value per share? Is it 10%? I just don't know. I will say that in his presentation, he talked about distributing that the entire 15 cents. But I'm not sure that's what he meant to say, because he said, anyway, we don't know. So there's a cash distribution, which might be a stock distribution. And then there's this distribution, which I just read, of HNRA. Okay. Here's August 15th, where they had net asset value of 25 cents a share. That's before the one I just read. The WDHI listing, if you got the stock, they're still saying that the listing target price on NASDAQ is $3.50 a share. But on his presentation, he said that it's in a quiet period because they're looking at other acquisitions. So who knows, that could be higher. Okay. And then October 4th, HNRC updated shareholders, October 4th of last year. And the appraised asset values per share, $2. Oh, that's a little confusing. AP, I don't know if that would confuse you, but it confuses me. It says 260 right there, and it says 290 right here. So, appraised asset values of $2.60 per share, 2023 pro forma earnings of 8 cents per share. And then you read it, and it says they are updating shareholders, new name, QSIP, all that. The company has appraised asset value of $2.90 per share with 2023 pro forma earnings of 0.08. The company is dedicated to increasing shareholder value and has then bullet points. Distributed WDHI, bought 100% of Cunningham, 9% interest in Nugget, Trap, Placer Mine, Gold Mine, completed a 40% acquisition of Rhino Energy Partners. That's the animal, not Nikki Haley. The company has realized a value on a total of 15 cents per share in current energy assets held by subsidiaries, with the potential for a 10% per share future dividend. Well, is it 10% off of 260 or $2.90? Or is it off of the market cap that currently exists? Or is it off of 10% of 3 cents? He doesn't clarify. HNRC expects they will exceed their annual projections for 23 of over 20 million in revenue and 12 million in earnings. The company has engaged an underwriter, 10 million, uplisting, and looking for other acquisitions. And then on December 11th, they completed the business combination, which is the HNRA. And HNRA, its portfolio company, has completed a business combination on November 15th. So the 180-day clock starts then by purchasing all the equity interests in Pogo Resources and its operating subsidiary, LH Operating. HNRA is now an independent oil and gas company focused in the acquisition, development, exploration, and production of oil and gas in the Permian Basin, New Mexico. They do 500 barrels of oil equivalent per day, but they've increased that now. That's when they first acquired it to 1,388 barrel of oil equivalent per day. They had 20 million in revenues, and they generate positive cash flow of 4 million for the 9 months ending September 30. Total assets were 70 million. With the acquisition now completed, HNRA will report its first consolidated financials for the fiscal year December 31. HNRC anticipates declaring a dividend of its HNRA position in 2024, subject to certain restrictions. And then they did another update recently. Which is here. January 3rd, 2024. Name change. HNRC's net asset value was increased by $1.70 per share. So what do you add that to? I don't know. But it says that the addition of Cunningham Energy 100% increased their net asset by $1.70 a share. They've completed their 2 years of audited financials, realized a value of 15 cents with the potential for a 10% per share future dividend, mining acquisition, spinoff. Anyway, I think I'm missing a page. But anyway, that's the summary. HNRA did have 7.5 million shares, but they're doing an offering now. They're doing an offering now at the low price. This is the presentation of HNRA. And in it, they value the PV10 of proved reserves, 434 million proved. So when you divide that out by 7.5 million shares, you get a big number. But HNRA, they had the SPAC at $10, $11. They de-SPACed. It was a rigged game for the Wall Street animals, and they destroyed the stock under $2, taking all the profit out of the market cap for themselves because they're greedy devils. And now the company is raising capital, which I don't think they should do, but they are. It's already done. They're raising capital in this $2 range. So it's going to increase the number of outstanding shares considerably. It's in the document. I don't have it in front of me, but when I did the arithmetic, it came out to $15 a share using those proved reserves. So I think HNRC is a number one, but I don't know what red finger means. You might have a negative opinion. Do you know when we can trade the WHDI dividend? No, I have it myself. The Wall Street transcripts, I think, or Wall Street emerging growth interview that he gave, he said that he's under a quiet, that's the wrong word. Anyway, he used a different word, but he's in a quiet period. So he gave that to the SEC for approval. He expected it to be trading last quarter. They expect it now this quarter, but he said he couldn't talk about anything. And I think it's because they're engaged in actually acquiring additional assets for WHDI. To my memory, either HNRC or Frank Kristen, or maybe it's both combined, own 17% of WHDI. So our interests are aligned to make sure that that opens hopefully higher than $3.50 a share. $3.50 a share is the asset, the historic cost of the assets in WHDI. But if they're adding more assets, I guess it's a new calculation depending on how many shares they have to issue. I'd say this quarter is when we can trade it. Hey, John Croson. Hi, Jennifer. ZJYL did rock today. I wanna rock with you all night. It's at 200 right now. It's pretty good, huh? It's pretty good. So my friend who sold his Logic, which I don't know. Logic actually went up after he sold it, but he sold it, took it off his screen, took that money, and he bought ZJYL at $100. So he's doubled his money. And if he wanted to, and ZJYL is now trading for 210, he could sell it. I told him I wouldn't sell, sell half maybe, but I wouldn't sell it all. I think it's going to go really high. But the point is, he didn't stand like a statue. Well, he could sell right now and go back and buy double, maybe not quite double his position in Logic if he wanted to. I don't think he will. He'll buy Finger or something. But my point is, you don't have to feel trapped in one stock. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Kittergy. KYP. KYP. Woo! I do not know much about Bullfrog, except that Jeremiah was one. But let's look. BFRG. The 52-week low of $2.36. The 52-week high, $9.50. So here at 740, it's not cheap. I mean, the risk reward is it goes back to that 236. On the other hand, addressing all the things you write here, it's showing some strength. Let me look at it. Let me look at the chart. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Why did that go away? There we go. BFRG. Wow. That's a good looking chart to me. It can always, KYP, it can always come down very quickly because you got two gaps. But that is breaking out. That is breaking out. Let me see where the longer term. I mean, it seems almost embarrassing to say it's breaking out, isn't it? Because it is. You don't need me to say it. That looks good. Last time it went from a low, it went to a high of about $10. And then it quickly dropped back down to $4.50, rallied back to $9, and then just started this long decline down now. But I think this time's different. You're not allowed to say that. But this gapped open. This wasn't a matter of the last time it traded up very rapidly, but this one gapped open from what, 275 or something, 290, and then gapped to 314, cruised through to 4 something, pulled back, and then it essentially gapped to 425, 410, and ran all the way to 525. And then from somewhere in that 5 range, it gapped again to 550 and it's doing a little bit back and forth here. But by closing at 740, in my opinion, it's a closing above any resistance that's real. And so I bet it goes a lot higher, KYP. I don't know anything about the story. Borrow fee 746, 144 million shares traded in 6 days. The average volume, which includes all of that volume, is 14 million. They have 6 million shares outstanding. You're saying 1.5 million public float. I'm just going to take a guess, KYP. Bullfrog's going to go a lot higher, and maybe as soon as tomorrow. But when things go up vertically like this, they come down very, very quickly too. So it's hard to know when the vertical ends and the comeback starts. It's going to be volatile, KYP, but I think it's going much higher. That's my snap judgment. You will not get a cash dividend from HNRC. They promise but never deliver. That's entirely possible, which is why I think it's one of the highly speculative plays. I can't prove you wrong. Can't prove you wrong. I can't prove you wrong. It would be fantastic if he could have set up a cash dividend. But there's going to be 2 dividends, whatever they are. 211 Fidelity. Let me see what. I have 206. Pretty good. Hey, Brandon. Oh, all right, AP. It means a good thing. All right. I think it is. Look, it's risk. There's maybe there's a reason it's down here, but I'm pretty excited about this distribution, which I don't know the value of that, but we're going to get this distributed to us. The reason I don't know the value is it looks like HNRC owns 7% of HNRA, but it never comes right out and well, at least I couldn't find it, how many shares they own. There was a listing of shares, like 500 and something else, and then there was a huge list of transactions. So anyway, answer is I don't know exactly what percentage we own of HNRA. No, that's not disrespectful. 211. My closing price at E-Trade is 206, but that's E-Trade. That's Morgan Stanley. Hey, Red Pepper, Meekers. Put an ice pack. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it into Apple and have them clean it out. But I think by then I'll have a new computer, I hope. $48 spread. Wow. Ruby, that just means they don't want to buy it and they don't want to sell it. They don't want to really be market makers after hours unless it's a big number. So, but we've seen if somebody comes in to buy at 217, it'll probably go at a lower price. It's all manipulation. Margin calls, yeah, it could be margin calls going on. It just depends where they shorted the stock, and I don't know that number. Remember, it was higher, so we'll find out. Hey, Donna, where's the stock? I don't know. Maybe I've been told. All right. I went through all those. I don't think there's a lot of copies. Robin Hood, 211.85. If it were publicly traded right now, I'd talk to you about a company that I own shares in, a gold company, but it's not publicly traded anymore. But it shows you this. I took out earlier today. I printed out two reports. One is from 2017, the other is from 2018, and projecting really great things for this gold company. But then the company couldn't keep its filings current, and it no longer trades as a public company. But I still apparently have my shares, and it's exciting because gold's up, but also apparently they have proved up, or that's the wrong word. They've in the lab, they have a white paper about what kind of process is required to get the gold out. Nano gold. And so my understanding is they're going to raise some money at a high price to start a pilot plant. But it wouldn't mean anything to you, but I would have fun talking about it. But I won't bore you with that one. We talked about GDC the other day. We certainly have talked about Finger to death. And we can go through some news. How high? Dumb question. Dirty Mayo was great, and Dirty Mayo has a high degree of financial sense, intelligence, acumen, whatever you want to call it. But the one thing is, he has a pretty keen sense of trading, in my experience. So, and he's a straight shooter. I don't know. I assume you're saying he was fired up on ZJYL, and he would know. Wow, at 165, that's pretty good. Meekers, I think pre-split, I think ZJYL will go to 25,000 and probably to 30,000. And it may overshoot. I assume you're asking me in a spike, but I don't know how big the short position is. But you know that a group of whales own 1.3 million shares, approximately. The outstanding shares, I think, are 1.3 million, or the float, 1.3 million. They're not selling. So where's the supply going to come from? And we, Meekers, it doesn't matter if all of us sold our stock. We would just be, running over a tennis shoe on the highway. They'll barely feel it on the way up. You might hear it, but it won't stop anything. So my answer is $25,000. $25,000 in a spike, in a bunch. Dennis Moore, galloping through the night. Yeah, they are insane numbers, Stony, but I I'm completely taking that number from what the big investors told Ham, and obviously Ham didn't believe it enough to buy any, but he has believed it enough to tell us about it. And you can't buy every stock. But if the big guys are looking for really high numbers, 25, 30,000 or more, I don't know if it's logical, but I think you can draw the conclusion they're not selling before it gets to those levels. So who's going to sell? I don't know. That's how my thinking is. We'll find out. We'll find out. Who did you watch? DZGAF? I don't know who DZGAF. I don't know who that is, but well, Stony, it sounds a little more reasonable when you do it post split. Post split, you're talking about $1,500 a share at 30,000. I think that's right. And I think at 25, you're talking about 12.5. So it's it's still jaw dropping, but it's more believable. I don't know when the split is. The vote's already won because a lot of people have already voted and they know that it's approved. But the end date for the vote is the end of the month. Let me see the calendar. January 29th is a Monday. So it'll be next week is when the vote is finito. I don't know when they're going to claim the record date. In my opinion, they have to give a record date that's 10 days out from the vote. But other people have told me they will just pick a time that's almost right away. But to be somewhat safe, I would say they might pick the record date of the 8th or the 9th of February. I didn't know that answer either, but somebody here said, look at your email, Doomkopf. So I looked at my email, and sure enough, I had an email from E-Trade that allowed me to vote on 6 of my shares. I'm going to keep looking for another email that allows me to vote on more. DGAZF. Oh, that's another stock. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It went from 400 to 25K in a few days. See, it can happen, Stony. It can happen. What will finger squeeze this year of will it next if of when it will goes? I have to admit, there's not much to go on there. What will finger squeeze? Well, their stock price will squeeze. This year of will it next if of when it will goes. I think if it's going to squeeze, the likelihood is this year. But Pharaoh, I think there's a lot of good news coming for Finger. if I had to guess, you're going to see 6 different pieces of good news over the next, let's just do it for symmetry, over the next 6 weeks. Will any of those cause the stock to squeeze? That's an open question. It seems like the Chinese market is under pressure. It seems like whoever Jeff Easton has behind the scenes has a real handle on Finger. And maybe they're going to be able to keep it down for a while. I don't know. But the news that's coming, in my judgment, is tremendous, and it's a game changer. And maybe not one piece of news, but by the time you get the 6, 7, 8 pieces, we've already had a couple. So I think there's probably 6 more news events. And I don't know what will Finger squeeze, and I don't know this year of will it, next if of when it will goes. But I think Finger has a really good shot of running over the next 6 weeks to 90 days, unless they have it entirely under control. It's a NASDAQ stock. These criminals that Jeff Easton works with are big, and they might have these credit default swaps. They seem to have endless strategies to do what they have to do, which is just continue to sell. You're living in a world where Adina Friedman, Gary Gensler, big, large Robert Cook, the Colbert Colbert 2 C's over CC Ryder over at OTC Markets. They don't care about you. They don't care about the destruction of companies, the destruction of shareholders, employees, cities, tax bases, technologies. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about the destruction of the United States markets. Adina wants to get her 28 million a year. That's more than Gary Gensler has in toto. He wants to stay ahead of her. He wants to be Secretary of Treasury. I don't know what that guy that looks like he surfs, he's from the UK, Colbert Colbert or whatever his name is after. And Robert Cook just wants to keep his job. But they don't care about you. So the big funds which hire these fronts like Jeffrey Easton, he's just you could take him out and just put another dishonest man in his place. It doesn't matter who it is, but they only have to keep selling stock. The stock doesn't have to exist. It's not algorithmic trading. There may be algorithmic trading that goes along with it, but it is simply overwhelming the market with stock which does not exist. They have not located. They don't intend to settle. They'll move it around a bit. They collaborate with each other. They collude, and then they create false prices. Price discovery is gone. And so as long as they keep selling, regardless of the news, stocks go down. But I think what's going to be different in Finger's situation, I think Finger's going to raise money without your per share value of revenues and earnings, and I guess assets, but your per share value isn't going to go down. It's going to be going up. What the criminals want to do is destroy everything they see when you reduce it to what's it worth per share. Because the only way shorting stocks work, whether legal or illegal, especially if it's illegal, is you've got to get the value per share down, 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 down. I don't think, Stony, the last day will be the 27th. I don't think so. But if you want to be safe, the 27th, of course, is a Saturday. It would be the 26th. If we have, is it T1 now? Or is it T2? I don't know what it is right now. If you really want to be safe, it might be tomorrow's the last day to buy. So we're coming up on the last days in terms of the vote. If they make it immediately effective, my opinion, you still have 10 days after the vote before there can be a record date, because they have to notice everybody after the vote. That's my opinion. But if you go back and look what happened with Logic and CAUD, I don't know what date the brokerage firms used for their distributions. And I think it all comes into fantasy land, because there's more shares out there than exist. So there's a lot of mail-in votes or dropped off votes late at night in ballots printed in China and delivered in triplicate to Pennsylvania via New York. I'm having MMTLP flashbacks to December 8th. Well, I don't know where you live, Stony, but I have I know a really good psychologist here. He's not that expensive. He's compassionate, and you could schedule some time with him to work on your flashbacks. If you think there's a correlation between ZJYL and MMTLP, I think you're a loony. Just kidding. That's a Monty Python word. Loony. You're not a loony, but they're not related. Yeah, I have MMTLP. Friday. So I guess we're on T+1 now. Yeah, so that's Friday, but that's just the vote. The expiry date for voting's long since gone by. Like I say, let's just Google it so I can say it with some certainty. How many days after a shareholder vote of approval for a stock dividend does the record date occur? I don't know. I can't find the answer. The exchange disseminates record date information to the marketplace so that investors can plan their holdings accordingly. Listed companies, this is for the NYSE, are therefore required to notify the exchange at least 10 calendar days in advance of all record dates set for any purpose. So I'm not a total idiot. I'm not a dementia addled gray person that belongs in a crematorium, as the boo birds have said to me. So it's 10 days. So Stony, my opinion is, if the vote occurs on Monday, if it's approved Monday, I think they still have to give 10 days notice. So I'm repeating myself, but that gets us to February 10th, maybe February 11th. And that would mean, let's say February 12th. That's a Monday. So probably the record date would be the 12th. Your last day to buy the stock maybe would be February 9th, but it's all speculation on my part until we see what they say when they announce the vote. The other screwy thing is the stock is listed, I think, in the Hong Kong market. That may supersede the rules of whatever the American markets say. I don't know. So we'll find out. Hey, Johnny V. When I get my profits from ZJYL, putting it all into Finger and GTII. For me, it's going to depend on when the profits come and the prices of those two stocks. But I'm going to look to I would probably, not for nothing, I would look to add to my position, which is small, of GDC first, Finger second. I'm going to assume that Logic will have already gone up a lot, so I probably wouldn't add there. I would probably then add to HNRC, HNRA, and CAUD. CVM looks interesting. If you're willing to put some shekels aside, just don't trade, just buy it and set it and forget it. Northwest Bio. And I'm trying to remember my list. We've all talked about them all. I like the one that KYP just put out, BFRG, but that is in the volatile phase. So I don't think I would bet. Who was giving me a hard time? Why are you saying sorry? You don't have to say sorry. I trust your judgment, Jennifer. You don't have to apologize to me. If anyone has to apologize, c'est moi, particularly when I got all worked up. It seems that GTII is at the bottom of the squeezes. Yeah, it is for me. That doesn't mean it won't squeeze. It doesn't mean, but I'm just repeating myself. I think let me see if I can put it in different words, Aaron, because maybe I haven't been clear enough. I think there's palace intrigue going on at GTII. And so whenever you have a battle going on between large shareholders and the CEO about the direction of the company, things go into a pause. And I would submit GTII will go a lot higher, a lot faster, the sooner David Reichman retires. Can I be any clearer than that, Aaron? Hello? Oh, well, here, I can get you on here. People are dying for, I just have to get the speaker set up. People are dying to hear from
Battery
you.
40%.
You're like a
Feels like
funeral home. People are dying to get in there. All right, you're on. Well, hang on, I screwed up. Now you're on. The main things, the main things they want to know. I'll go last question first. Aaron said to me, it seems like GTII is now at the bottom of the squeeze list. And I said, only in timing. I think we need to have a defined direction of that company, but it's just timing. That's all.
Well, listen, things flip around, they flip flop. That's how it goes.
we've showed you brute force in trying to beat these guys, correct?
You have.
I brought in everyone, and you keep, when they keep flooding it, and that's why the Secret Service is probably involved, is because of the counterfeiting of a fake 20. They will come and arrest you in a minute. So the weight of the currency will destroy the currency of any country. So that's why they defend it. So again, the counterfeiting guys are just hitting a sell button, and we have to come up with real money all the time.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, 450 million shares that we calculate as short, do it at $1. It's $450 million worth of buying power we put into it.
Well, you got one happy camper. He sold the news on Rum Fun and DWAC, and he locked in profits. It feels good to win.
Listen, again, I'm standing like the Statue of Liberty because I don't have the funds to keep playing. But if you could keep popping around and take some of your profits and buy the names that you believe like we're following, then you can attempt it that way to try to lower your cost or gather more shares. That's just the way it goes. You know, not everybody has access to do it, but that's how professionals would do it.
Johnny V says that he feels like when GTII rips, people will wish they had picked up the stock at this price. And I can't disagree with that. It may be true.
Well, go look at DWAC. It was $12. It turned around. It was $50.
Right.
I was talking to the CEO of Rum. It was $3.30, $3.40. He was getting smoked. He was being attacked. Everything turned around and went to $7. All right. Now I don't know all the details in Rum. I think I gave it to him, but I couldn't remember the numbers. I think it was 287 million shares short. I think, and he has got 84 million in the float. So he's got a big short position. But I don't know the history, so it's hard for me to tell you. If I would have bought it at, say $4 and it goes to $7, I would have been out at $6. See, at 2 points, 5,000 shares would have been 10,000. You take half of that money, you invest it in, stocks like GTI or Finger Motion, you put 5,000 in your pocket, and then you go to the next one. That's how you do it. And if you do it, if you're a good trader, nickel and diming every day, you can actually build positions for stocks with profit, and you have no risk. That's the way to build massive positions quietly, instead of going to your bank and taking every dollar you have and jumping in. That's unfortunately, that's how most people do it. We all do it. But when you're trading, you can keep adding to it. I wish I was trading because I would be adding to the names every day.
Here's the best question from to be or not to be. Do you think ZJYL could dip again? I want to buy in. Yeah, it's going to be volatile. But so put an order in under the market.
I think you're wrong on that. Only because if you look at today's action, the stock was up $50. I don't know what the hell it was up, $30, $40, whatever it was. I fell asleep watching it because there was no activity. Right? Where was the volatility you just spoke about, right?
I didn't finish. I don't think it's likely, but it could happen. Nah. I don't think, to me, that stock is about to launch. If it gets through around 300, I think it's 500 or 600 before you can say, "Hey, honey, bring me my computer."
Right. I just saying that today's activity shows you that the volatility, the attempts of these guys trying to knock it down, they did it yesterday. They tried to create the volatility with the bear raid. I'm sure everybody, if you just go and look at at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the bear rate, it was 240. The stock looked like it was going to the moon, and they turned and bashed it down until they ran into buyers and it stopped, right? That's what happened there. So again, the volatility it's coming out of the name versus going into it. If they reverse it, if they do when they do the forward split, the volatility really going to come out of it then.
I think if you don't own any B, I would, just buy what you're comfortable with tomorrow morning. And you can always put an order in under the market for some more. And if it dips down.
The way to do it is, listen, if you're going to buy it, you're buying 2 shares, you buy one, and then you wait to see if it happens. I was always taught when I was a big trader in rumored takeover stocks. That's what I used to
He
do. I
used
was
to
always
buy
in the
one
name.
share at a time. He was a big trader.
Right. I would buy one share, then I wait to buy the other share. When I wanted to get into something and I was buying 500 or 1,000 calls, I buy 200 immediately just to make sure I was in it. And then I try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do, getting a bigger position. You know, options today are very different than the options before. There wasn't the people weren't supplying liquidity as much before. So a lot of times I would go to buy 500 calls and they sell me 20. And I get all pissy because I thought I was a big shot. Say, oh, shit, I only got 20. The stock would go up that day $2 and I'd be pissed off and I would sell them and make myself $4,000 and be all pissy. If I didn't get 500, what am I doing? And next day the stock go up 20. If I would have held on, I would have made 40,000. Instead, I took the 4,000, and because I was an idiot, you know, I made idiot mistakes. You know, having a small position is better than having no position, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing that right now in ZJYL. People are buying 2 shares and making themselves 800, 500. You know, that's called trading. It doesn't make a difference what the numbers are.
Yeah.
You know, and I just showing you that I thought I was a big shot before, and I needed to have 1,000 calls or 500 calls, not 20. That's below me. I need more, and I screwed it up. Maybe I only screwed that up maybe 40,000 times.
Well, the worst thing is if you buy everything all at once,
Right.
and the stock goes down, you don't have any money to average down. If you
That's
buy
right.
part of it now and the stock goes up, even if you buy it at a higher price, your average price is lower than the price you're paying up for. So
Right. Well, that's the position I'm in right now. I'm standing here watching it. I can't move. I'm stuck. I'm standing there. So I can't adjust my positions. So I'll talk about them. And I talk about other names because when you work on a trading desk, you just can't say the same name every day. If there's no activity, what am I going to say? We know the attacks. We know the short. We know the big volume. We know law enforcement's here. What can I say every day? The company has to do some corporate action. What happened? Finger Motion did a corporate action. So I talked about that. ZJYL, it came from outer space. I didn't buy it. I'm just talking about it. And you know what? It gave everybody on this phone something to talk about.
yeah, that's true.
That's all I was trying to do is get some people, hey, look, this company's doing a forward split. It's very different than the disaster reverse split that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
So why not learn? You guys are all here trying to make money in the equity markets. Might as well learn some of the different things that go on. And nobody here would have ever found out about ZJYL if I haven't been told about it. After that big run to 500, they knocked it back down. It went from 500 to 60. And now it's turned it back up to 200. So they tried to kill it. They couldn't kill it. And now it still lives. Now what do you do? You know, so these guys who are on the short side of this thing have a big problem. The people that are playing this stock, the big boys, seem to know everything about it. Wow, isn't that what we're doing in Finger Motion? We know everything about Finger Motion and GTII and MMTLP. It's nice to have a little history on a bunch of different names. All right, we can't make any money in MMTLP. But MMTLP is going to help everybody in all the crazy names that we're in. So at least we understand that. Finger Motion is different than GTII. Finger Motion has different fundamentals. GTI is trying to build the fundamentals. You know, so there's all these stocks are different, but you got to learn the stories. And I'm telling you, by listening to William or Ace or reading whatever everybody's posting, I think you guys do understand it a lot. I speak to a lot of people. Richard, not legal advice. You know, Richard, not legal advice. I spoke to him. Even though he's an attorney, he's a slow learner. I have to actually hit him with a pot on the head to teach him. Now, I'm only kidding.
You're, of course, teasing.
Yes, he's brilliant. He understands it. And he's on the same page of all of us. He's come from nowhere. He's an attorney. And he's understanding how unbelievable the security fraud is on Wall Street. It's remarkable. And I talk about it every day with him, and he can't believe the things that he sees. You know, Alpine, how does Alpine, a crooked prime broker, live inside the whole financial system and no one ever shut him down?
Yeah.
It's like a virus inside the whole system, and they let it live all these years. They let it live so long that John Hurry, his wife, amassed homes after homes, diamonds, travel, Cayman Islands, LLCs, just for being criminals. And no one ever put him in jail.
Well, that guy you were talking about earlier, who was just the broker for a schemer, became wealthy beyond dreams.
Wealthy beyond wealthy.
And that was just the
And
broker.
Actually, I know where he lived, and I have a friend that's from the same town. And he goes, "You know him?" I go, "Yeah, I used to work with him." And he couldn't believe it. He goes, "The guy owns everything." Just from being the broker on those trades, he was probably making 50 to 75,000 a day, every day for years. Probably more than that, 100. They were paying all types of fees to do those exotic trades. That shows you how much money they were stealing.
So is ZJYL right now, are there margin calls right now?
Well, they don't have, listen, let's look at it this way. We're looking at it as outsiders. I don't know every gory detail, but a stock that goes up, what was it up today, William? I don't even know.
It was up 45 points.
$45, and it stayed there all day. Now, the short sellers aren't selling enough to average up, right? I mean,
Right.
they're short. You know, it's like an iceberg. There's 90% of it's below the water. So these guys are underwater. They didn't let a stock stay up $45 today after you watched yesterday's attack telling you that they need it down, correct?
Right.
Today's attack didn't exist. So if there was a buyer, if the volume was 500,000 today at 212, I would say, boy, these guys are laying into it, and they're going to attack tomorrow because they got some nice big sales going on here, right?
Right.
They made some nice big short sales, big volume, but they didn't do that. What did they sell? 200, 300, 500 shares?
The volume was 48,000 for the day.
Right, but you got to remember they do some crosses here also. They're moving from account to account. And, some people have flipped some 200 to 5, so what did they sell? 20,000 shares, 25,000 maybe, the whole day. And it closed at the high of the day. So what did they do? They did nothing. They did nothing to help their position at all. I told you, if it traded 500,000 shares here, I would tell you tomorrow they're going to kill it. But they didn't do it. So, I mean, they're just making the problem worse.
It's probably going to open up tomorrow.
And they absolutely got some sort of pressure from somebody where they're turning the faucet off, saying, okay, guys, you can't sell that much more. You're shut down. You need to put up more money because, like I said, the volatility came out of it. They ran out of gas at some point, right? It was doing nothing. I actually closed my eyes by 5 to 4. I said, I can't even watch it anymore. It's like watching paint dry.
So do you think there's buy-in, short margin problems yet, or not quite yet?
Oh God, just listen. When that moron wrote that report the other day, that Culpa Research or whatever he was called, I forgot his name. That was the sign that they were in trouble. And I said that on the call, correct?
Yeah.
I said this guy wrote that report, like Capybara, because Capybara attacked Finger Motion because whoever was short was choking to death at $7.20. So they got the plan. They got Capybara. They got a bunch of criminals. They joined together and they bear raided Finger Motion. Capybara standing out like a sore thumb. Mark Brazil goes after him. Meanwhile, the damage has been done to the stock and no one gives a shit. Right now, the company's got to sit here and figure out what to do. That's the damage from these criminals, what they do.
KYP brought up a stock, Bullfrog, BFRG, and it's around $7, but let me see if I can find her post. it's got a huge borrow rate. Bullfrog. I got to find her. Here it is. She said, please comment on Bullfrog AI, BFRG. 10,000 shares available to short. Borrow fee 746%. 144 million shares traded in 6 days. There's 1.5 million in the public float.
How many shares traded?
114 million traded in 6 days on
And the
1.5
stock
million.
is the stock is a $7 stock.
I mean, now it is. Let me look.
Which way is it going, up or down?
It's going up. 760. It's going up.
Wow. So there's not much to comment here.
I know that. I told her it was a good catch.
Something crazy's going on.
It's a good catch. And then somebody
Right.
just now is asking about another stock. Let me see if you know about it. I got to find it.
Well, 1 second, William. For people thinking that we're just making conversation about the equity markets. People play different names. People see different things. When you work on a trading desk with 30 people, that's a lot of eyes looking at different things. KYP just picked out Bullfrog, which I never heard of, and brought it to our attention. Keep an eye on it. Let's see what happens. I have no idea. I have no idea about the stock.
Oh, here, Kit Kitteridge just said Bullfrog is the patent protected artificial intelligence unicorn with collaborations with Lieber Institute to accelerate research and development in medically dealing with brain health, cancer, medical disorders, and trauma.
And people are shorting it, trying to hold it down, because it's impossible to have 1.4 million shares in the float and trading 100 million shares.
Yeah.
So here it is that no matter what you do, the other side of the coin comes in and tries to destroy it. And it helps everybody based on what you're just telling me, and they could care less.
And go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to show you that, naked short selling, counterfeiting kills. It kills investors. It kills families. People have heart attacks. Now it kills you. You guys can see it that when your health, you need something for your health, they're wiping them out. They don't even let them live.
So Ruby's apparently already asked you about this one. Mary Charlie Apple Frank, MCAF. Yahoo institutional ownership at 400%, insiders at almost 500%. MCAF.
Whoa. I don't remember, but
Okay.
the institutional ownership is they own 400% of the
393%.
How many shares? What institutions own it?
Let me look it up. Didn't expect a kind of Spanish Inquisition. Hang on.
This sounds like it's insane.
Yeah.
What price is the stock?
Let me look. I'm pulling it up right now. It's just MCAF. It's Mountain Crest Acquisition Corp. It's $19.50. The top holders are Carpus Management, Hudson Bay Capital, Owl Creek Asset Management, Yakire Capital Management, Kim LLC, Clear Street, River North Capital Management, and Deutsche
so these guys
Bank.
own 440% of the float.
Well, let me see if she's telling you the truth. Yeah, she is. 473% of shares are held by insiders. 393% of shares are held by institutions.
That is one of the top ones that I've ever seen. That's a great
let's
find.
look at the statistics for how much big the float is. Float is, they say, 953,000 shares. Shares outstanding 3.31 million.
Right.
Something's
the
confusing.
float is 950,000 shares, not even a million shares.
Not even a million.
So if they own
Actually,
four,
yeah, 953,000. Yep, that's what it is.
well, I'm definitely going home to look at that, see what that's about. Because this is like that's out of control. You got big names in there; they own the whole thing. Each one of them owns. Everybody owns too much. It's out of control. That is higher than the GameStop. You just gave me the number.
That's Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby just gave us the number. The number is higher than the shares in the float than the float that are tradable. They own it all. That's not adding retail. That's not adding any non-reporting hedge funds. You know, there's people that don't report their holdings. That number is people that report their holdings. So that number could be 500%. I mean, that number is out of control. Is it a SPAC? Is it what does it do?
It's $560 to $31, and it doesn't say it's a SPAC, but maybe it used to be. It's Mountain Crest Acquisition Corp 4.
Yeah, it sounds like a SPAC.
And maybe they tried to destroy it.
Yeah, that's the old SPAC game is they put money up. They all put money into it, then they all pull the money out, and the thing gets wiped out.
Right.
I mean, that's what they do. I mean, so I don't know. I'll go home and look at it. That is a very interesting, and maybe I could put the puzzle together and figure it out. Thank you very much. I'll look at that. But this is what these talks have to go into. You need to start expanding your knowledge and figuring out, and the stuff that you did learn from whatever I taught you, and see how it relates to other stocks. This is how you find things. You got, these stocks are going to happen, and one day you're going to say this, okay, I played these two stocks and I'm done with them. Now what do I do? You got to find other names that you do. That's how it works.
That's right. So this guy's asked a couple of times, when do you think Finger goes with the dividend? And I'd said about 10 things. I think I said about 6 things in the works, whatever. He says 10, whatever it is. Quite a few items in the works. When does Finger squeeze, if it squeezes?
Well, the company is definitely fighting back. That's the number one thing. If you see the blueprint, they had the toxic guy in here. They got rid of him. I told you my friend gave him the money to buy him out. The criminals have showed their every dirty card in the book. They didn't want to take the money. They cried about this. They cried about that. They showed their cards. And I reported every stupid move they made. I told you about. All right, because big investors hear different things, so I'm passing it along when I hear it. So the companies combated everything, came back. They hired Mark Bazile. They went after Capybara. Now, if you look at it, these guys went after Capybara to hire an attorney to go after this ghost. It probably cost the company $50,000 to $100,000 to go after that. They're wasting money fighting criminals that the SEC allows to run around, the DOJ allows to run around. They're not the only company doing this stuff. West Christian, these guys, it costs money to hire all these people. And they're getting protected by the government because they don't give us the information and all this crazy stuff. So this is very damaging what you see from all these people. It's just remarkable that, everyone has to fight through it and everybody always blames the company. Well, this company's doing everything right. GTI has done everything right for 3 years fighting back. They could have taken the money at $7, $8 and said, screw you. I raised all the money, but they didn't. They wanted to fight and see this all the way through. All right. Good, bad, or indifference. The company's been fighting for everybody here. GNS, he settled with the shorts. He fucked everybody. Was it Vocal? He settled too. He walked away. He hammered everybody. Correct. That's the difference in this game. When you see people that don't protect you, then you got a problem.
That stock was actually up today, to be fair to him. It was up 30%. But
there's 300,000 shares in the whole company. 300,000 shares in the whole company.
Uh,
So what is he doing? I told you my friend is even at 15. 15. So what has he done? Everyone's wiped out. Everyone I know is wiped out. And anyone that's big who's left is like, you told me someone said that they would break even at 70.
wow.
I mean, so and there's no one with a nickel of profit in this thing. The CEO's got a new stock, and he's walking around like he's chirping that he's God Almighty. He murdered everybody, and he told everybody he wasn't going to do. He did the complete opposite, and he's blaming everybody else but himself.
Your new handle on Twitter has to be nefarious, like
Nefarious,
a rap star.
Yeah,
Nefarious.
I'm a crook because I'm telling you exactly what I believe is fraudulent activity. We reported to the SEC. They haven't given us a goddamn dime. $27 trillion worth of frauds we reported. And we didn't get a quarter. Nothing. I don't know how to insult them anymore. I don't even know what to say.
Exactly.
What are we supposed to do? Write it in the sky? I don't even know what you're supposed to do. There's nothing else I can say. So we've insulted. There's lawyers running all over the street going after people. The Southern District must be loaded with all these criminal cases not criminal, civil cases. Everybody's suing these guys like Mark Bazile for unregistered toxic lenders. What did he do? It in BBIG the other day? I think he did it. I forgot the symbol. BBIG is another one he just went after. That stock was $6 as a hot name. It's pennies. Every one of them is destroyed. Destroyed. Think of the battle we're fighting and surviving all these years. And it's coming to an end. I don't believe the SEC and everybody can withstand this anymore. I think you're going to see an arrest. I think the DOJ is going to come out and start arresting these guys. They said they were. They put out a press release. They're going to be getting arrested. Who are they going to arrest? Andrew Left? Grab one of them. Put him in jail. Short the story. Andrew Left, Hindenburg, Capybara, all these guys. The White Rock, whatever that guy's name was, White something. All these little creeps that write these stories. They hit and run. They blast them, drive them down, short them, drive them down and cover and walk away laughing. That's what they do.
VUZIX. I don't know that one, but
What is it? VUZIX?
It said you said they were being attacked. Victor, Uncle, Zebra.
Vuzi, V-U-Z-I.
Yeah,
That's
Vuzi.
Yeah. I spoke with them. I think they're from Rochester, New York. They were attacked a while ago. I told you my friend owned 1 million shares of it at $9. He bought it on margin. The shorts marked it down every day. He called Yvonne Hubler, the head of the NASDAQ, of naked short selling. And he called and he made complaints to her every day because he knew that his clients are going to be pissed off at him. So he reported it to her every day. The shorts were marking the stock down. The shorts were marking the stock down. The shorts were marking the stock down for one reason, right? Trying to get this guy to unleash, get out of his margin. They unwind his margin. That's what they were doing to him. So he wound up selling his stock because the clients were tired of getting the calls. Hey, my stock's down today. You need to put more money up. You got to put more money up. That's all he did until they drove it down. VUZI.
Just back to ZJYL, since it's the man of the hour. Can it go to 25,000 or 30,000, whatever, before the split or after?
Whatever the combination it is, it's going that way. I don't know. I don't know if it's. Listen, if I was short, I would be covering before the forward split. And I think some of the shorts are starting to cover before the forward split. Some of the smaller guys saying, screw this, get me out of this thing. And that's why you're seeing the stock move up.
Meanwhile, Timothy Yikes is shorting stocks from Asia
Yeah.
and
How do you know
flaunting
that?
it.
He's shorting stocks from Asia or in
Apparently,
Asia?
he's flaunting about, bragging about it.
Wait, he's shorting stocks into the U.S. from Asia?
Or he's physically in Asia while he's shorting. Maybe he's, I don't know. That's what,
Listen, that guy is a stooge, creep, whatever you want to call him. He has no idea what he's doing. Just listen to him speak. He's not from my world anyway. I don't know what world he's from. He's from the fraud world. He doesn't know what he's doing.
how many shares are short in ZJYL?
I don't know. I would say based on my guess, it's got to be at least 2-3 million shares.
That's enough to cause it to be in trouble.
Oh God, especially when people that have been buying it buy all the shares.
I mean, apparently you were saying IBKR can't deliver 500,000. You would think their back office.
They know. These people know the details like we know the details in finger motion. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. Gather as much information before you jump in the lake or the pond, whatever you want to call it, or the pool, excuse me. Before you go invest in stocks, don't be afraid. Ask questions, read, find things, see what it's about. It takes you 20 minutes to figure out what's going on in the stock. You could go on Twitter and see who's doing what. What are people talking about? Why? The CEO's a fraud. He's been talking to the short sellers, blah, blah. You learn in 2 seconds. I mean, that's how it goes. So when people say they own the whole float and they're trying to get their shares out of there, and they can't do it. Now, someone said, if you pull your shares out and get a physical cert or get it back to the transfer agent, you won't be able to sell it. That is correct. But wouldn't you rather have, if you had 1 million shares, wouldn't you rather have 500,000 of those shares being traded at 30,000? Who cares about the other 500,000 shares at that point, right?
Right.
If it crashes back to earth and you sold it at $200, all right, but you helped you sell the other 500,000 shares, at 20,000. Who gives a shit about the 500,000 shares?
You have a point.
So this is a way to at least get 50%, make a fortune on 50% of your stock. And, we all think the same thing. I want to have all my shares trading. Well, think about it that way. It's a different angle of it. Nobody on this phone is going to be in that position to do this crazy stuff. So again, you're talking about guys that are multimillionaires. My friend owns 25,000 shares at 110. And you say, how do you accumulate that much share? Well, every day they hit you. You buy 2,000 every day. In 12 days, you're there, right?
Yeah.
You buy some high, you buy some low. They were knocking it at $60. They were trying to break it.
I hope this guy's saying, I hope you all do well with ZJYL. I will not be buying anything after naked shorting is destroying so many good stocks. That's rational. I think that's rational.
I'm the first to tell you, run away. Never come back. I'm the one that tells you that every day. If you're going to do it and you want to get into the game, you better learn to trade and understand at the pace that I play. That's how you have to win. You got to be quick, fast, understand what you're doing. Don't jump into anything like a maniac. It's very dangerous. The old stock market that I know, you could jump in because the stocks would be, the volatility wasn't like this today. Look at ZJYL, just I'll show you volatility. Ran to $240 and they knocked it down $80 in 12 minutes. And no one sells stock to lose $80. If you sold 1,000 shares and you lost $80,000 in profit trying to sell it as fast as you can down. And they got away with this for years. but now we all understand it, and people aren't panicking. That's the difference. So I hope it, you knocked it into your heads.
So
And it has. Based on the questions I'm getting back, people are understanding this stuff.
people are learning, and here's a for example, asking for your help. This Brenda bought 8 shares of ZJYL for an average of $106. If it goes to 300, should she sell it and then buy again after the split? My reaction would be sell 3 shares at 300 and then see what happens with the rest. But what is your opinion?
My opinion is that you're in the Wild West here, and you should sell half of it, and you get all your other trade is free. If you sold half of it today at 212 and you paid 106, you have, what'd you say, 8 shares? She said, I forgot
Right,
what she
8
said.
shares.
You would have 4 shares, and close your eyes and don't think about 300. Think about 30,000 then, because you got it for free.
That's right.
Think about if you're able to hold on. If you did that in GameStop and you paid 3 3/4 and sold half of your position at $7 or $8, right? That means every share you have left is free.
Right.
And it went to 500. And that at that point you can say, "Oh my God, this thing's out of control. I'm going to sell it now. I could sold it at 400." Think how much money you would have made. But we all do the same thing. All my friends did it. I had my friends in it, and we were buying stocks. All right. And we were selling it at 8, 10, 12. I told you 15, 18. And the highest we sold GameStop was I think it was 115. I think it was a 118, one of those numbers.
I
And
was always taught to do it in thirds. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
we were too stupid to hold on to some.
Yeah.
Shame on me. Hold on 1 second, guys.
Brenda, I was always taught to do it in thirds. When it doubles, sell a third. When it doubles again, sell another third, and then let the last third run. Did I ever do that as a matter of practice? No, we all get caught up in the story. But that's what I would suggest. I think it's going to open up tomorrow. And I bet you could sell 3 shares, get all your original money off the table, and then go for a home run or a grand slam with the rest. Oh, I like he's asleep.
I'm sorry. Here you go.
All right. Have you ever seen a forward split before?
You know what? I've seen it, but I don't remember it because I probably wasn't involved in it. That was not my thing. I was only trading big board stocks, and I don't remember them happening. I don't remember. I never played one. Now that we're in right now, we're in the trash pail. We're trying to figure out all these crazy things now. So you're getting to see it. You're getting to see it like I'm seeing it in real time.
I think, Jennifer, the company to look up is Revco, but is it true that the SEC freezes and seizes brokerage accounts when they are investigating fraud?
I've never been involved in that, so I don't know.
I think if you look up that one with the governor of New Jersey, they seized all the assets but he might have lost the money. That might have been the difference. I don't know.
Listen, I've been involved in Wall Street trading. That means I bought something at $30. I sold it at 30.5. I made 50 cents 5,000 times. I make $2,500. I don't even know what the companies did most of the time when trading for myself. At the end of the day, the morning I came in and said, "Oh, my account had 200,000. And I should have $202,500. That's all I knew, minus the commissions." That's trading. But then I figured out the stock settlement system doesn't work, and that's why these stocks are all going down. So it became a different game. So I mean that it's very different now.
Is there anything new on GDC?
GDC, I told you before, my friend said they're buying another 2 million shares, and then look out.
Yeah, he told me that, Ralph. I forgot to share it with you.
And that information is fresh, right out of the oven. I got it last night. So I just don't know when they finish buying what they're doing. Remember, wealthy people accumulate. My friend was nice enough to give me the information. He owns 1 million shares, higher. I own it higher. So we have to sit here and wait, like the Statue of Liberty, wait for our turn. That's what I'm doing. Although the shorts have been nothing but ruthless on the stock. Let's jump in this video.
One guy's asking about MMAT. I don't know that.
I haven't had the time to read up about what's going on there. I can't get in that fight. You know.
I know a little bit about it, but I don't have enough to make it interesting. So
I couldn't tell you. I don't want to make anybody's. I don't want to say anything that change your opinion on whatever the hell you're doing, because I don't know. I don't know it.
Whatever happened to Wes Christian? I mean, he's not going to announce every time he does anything to the world.
Wes Christian has all types. I blasted him last week in an email. He said he got a whole bunch of cases he's filing, updates, and you know what? He's an attorney. They look at Mark Bazile. Capybara defaulted, and he can't make a statement until the judge rules on it. I mean, think about it. The company's waiting. Everybody's waiting for the judge to rule on it. And the guy just defaulted. He didn't show up. He defaulted. I mean, the court system is like standing in quicksand. It takes forever.
Can retail make a squeeze happen alone, or do they need
Absolutely not.
Institutional investors have to?
Absolutely not. And that's why I laughed at that movie Dumb Money. They were talking and they're blaming that guy, Roaring Titty. Yeah, guy sitting with a cat t-shirt. He made it happen. Yeah, sure. I got more power in my fingertips than that guy has, all his friends together. I have more institutions I talk to, and look how hard it is. You got to get institutions to come in like cannibals and be aggressive. Not one, you need 10, 15 of them. So I expect that the guy Ryan Cohen, what's his name, the guy from Michael Burry, all their friends, all their followers came at the same time. So it was like they charged at us, they charged the GameStop all at the same time. So all those big players were getting in all at the same time. That was orchestrated by big hedge funds. So that movie is false. That whole narrative is false.
Look, I don't think that after the split, it's going to be cheaper, but I guess the question is cheaper than what? But to me, this stock is about to break through 300 and do whatever it's going to do.
It does the 20. It's going to do a 20-for-1 forward split, right?
Right.
The stock's 200. So what is it going to open up?
5 smackers?
Excuse me?
No, 20. I'm bad at arithmetic.
So it's $10.
$10, yeah. Open at 10.
Right. So again, that's where it's going to open at 10. At 300, then it's going to be $15. Right? It just keeps going up.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to pull back after the split.
I think it's going to be more people will buy a stock like that because now it's actually easier to buy. Right now, you could buy 20,000, let's say at 250. As soon as you finish buying it, they'll drop it like an anchor. It'll be 150. How would you like to be down $100 on 20,000 shares? That's why you're getting small buyers in here all the time. See how nice you feel? Yeah, I bought 5 shares. You don't feel nervous about what you're doing. Start going to buy 10, 20,000 shares of a stock like this, you'll faint.
It seems like Finger has Univest or a lot of deals. ZJYL has low float and whales, and then it.
I'm going to give you. Want to give you? I just thought about something while you were speaking to me. And let me give you my 2 cents and what I threw out there yesterday. You guys would think you're gonna say you think I'm crazy. But to my friend who owns a big position, I says, why don't you get ZJYL to buy Finger Motion at $25 a share? You know,
are
as this thing's
crazy.
running.
We're a loony.
I took a shot. Lincoln did. That's what they always say, right? So I said, why don't we do that? Make this thing throw as many curveballs as you.
Well, thank you for interrupting the question for that.
Well, I'm just saying that I said, listen, let's throw as much shit at these people as possible. If it's buying this or buying that, that's what GTI tried to do with Vocal, but the knucklehead turned down the deal because he wanted more. So now he wind up with nothing. Think about that genius.
That is some genius at work.
All right.
He's got good skills at blocking out alternatives. He doesn't remember that he had that option anymore. He just talks about.
Listen, listen. I'm not looking to get in a piston match with the guy.
I'm not either.
Done,
I mean,
done. I don't want it. He buried everybody, and he buried my family, everybody. Okay, and it's not a joke, but you know what? I can't sit here and be pissed at him every day of my life. You know what? What's happened to what he's done? It's going to come back and bite him on the ass. That's all I can tell you.
So PS71.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
He bought 100 ZJYL at 100. So you, at some point, if it runs, if it goes to 300, say, you can sell a third of your position. He bought 100 for 100 smackers.
So he bought 100 shares at $100. So it cost him 10 grand, right?
Yeah.
He could sell 50 of them, 200, and never worry about it again. He doesn't even have to look.
Yeah.
Go relax. It's free. You don't get to trade for free. I understand it. But understand the mechanism and how you can trade and protect yourself all the time. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. And you got the perfect example. Imagine buying a stock at $1. You bought 10,000, it goes to 2, you can sell 5,000. You got it for free. Now they all don't work. It may take only one of your stocks to work down the road. And you say, oh my God, I've been doing this. I got 20 free positions, 19 of them a break, 15 of a break even, 4 a disaster. But one just went from 1 and it's $50 now. And I made a fortune on 1. That's how trading works. Don't think that you're going to buy every stock you're going to buy is going to go from $2 to $500. It just doesn't happen. So understand the trading, the playing. If you can get money off the table, you know what? If you have 10,000 at a stock at $1 and it runs to 2, you can sell 8, hold on to 3, and never look back. This way, you put some profit in your pocket. You know, you got 3,000 shares for free, and you put some money in your pocket. You could sell 9,000, hold on to 1. The stock goes to 10, you got no headaches. Look at Rome. Imagine if you bought it, at $3, $3.50, went to 7. You could have sold it at 6. Sold half of it at 6. And it's pulling back, and now the stock's in a tough spot because it had a run. What's the next move? That's the easy money was made on the first run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the next move? I don't know what the next move is. It down? Well, today they attacked it down, right after the big run and all the volume. What's the move tomorrow? I think tomorrow the move is they'll come in, they'll try to knock it down again, and then it'll rally back up, and then it has that churning. It'll keep grinding itself back down. That's the pattern that I see in all these names. It's the same pattern. If you get a big spike up, $3, $4, $5, the next day they drop it $1, $1.50 real quick. The next day it starts to drift and go back down again, and now all of a sudden they got it down $3 from the high. The easy money's on the first trade. That's why I always tell you to put good till canceled orders out there. Don't miss it.
In other words, the easy money is to sell on the first trade, buy back later.
That's the easy money was the first trade. Now it becomes a hard trade. Now what is the next move? I don't know what the next move is. It's like dancing with William. He's got two left shoes on, two left feet.
I don't dance.
Yeah, I don't know what the next step is going to be.
I don't
When
dance.
in rum, everyone's buying it because they think it's a good company tied to whatever it's going to be. All right, whatever they, take a shot on it. You got your shot. So you sell half, you put the money in your pocket, and you sit there and say, I think it's going higher. Well, then you hold on to it, but you got half your money off the table. If you didn't make a sale and the stock's coming back down, never turn a winning trade into a losing trade. Remember that. William was very good at that. Top 10.
Dominic wants to have a quick lesson on a call option spread.
All right. I'm standing in my garage. I don't have a machine, so I could I could do that another day for you. All right. It's easy for me looking at a machine and showing you quotes how to do it. It's easy.
I don't think you can learn call option spreads in a quick lesson, but
you can do it when you're looking at the numbers and you can find a situation where the numbers are right. You can see it. We can make up numbers and, it's always perfect when you're making up the numbers. But when you see it on the screen with the option page, you could do spreads out of the money spreads, in the money spreads, deep in the money spreads. There's all different ways to do it. No one here is doing deep in the money spreads. All right, so that's not going to happen. Deep in the money means that if the stock is 60, we're doing the $50 calls, which is probably worth $10 or $12. So no one's playing with those numbers. So those institutionals.
How is one group like Lind, remember they have clients behind them, how do they hijack the entire stock market cap, the entire stock price?
How do they hijack it?
How can one short fund like Lind hijack the entire stock share price?
There's no safeguards. They just sell stock. It's like the Wild West. No one's stopping them. We can do it. If we had a prime broker that let me sell shares all day, I can take rum and drive it from 7 always back down to 2. No one's doing it. I don't care who's buying it. Just keep selling it. The funny thing is, why don't they just go sell 1,000 shares of Google or Amazon, one of these $200 names like Costco at 500? Sell 1,000 shares a day if you're going to make it short. You'll make a fortune. Why do you need to sell billions of shares? Why? Because they have a debenture tied to them. That's why. The debenture gives them the protection. Do you understand that, William?
Yeah.
You can't. No one's gonna sit here and short these stocks if they don't have protection. They can't do it.
Well, and it doesn't have to be complete protection. It just has to convince the risk takers at the prime broker, yeah, we're reasonably covered. And the shorts don't care, by the way. They'll burn their prime broker if they have to.
Okay. All they have to do is go broke.
Yeah. The shorts
they
just
have an LLC,
let their LLC go out of business. Then the lawyers defend it for 8 years and they keep trading.
And they'll go someplace else and start again. And they'll leave it to the people to go chasing them down. That's it.
And the brokers will continue doing business because they want the commission.
Just go back and look at E-Trade. I always posted. The guy was short of stock at E-Trade, and what did they do? The stock got squeezed. What did he do? He got bought in. He lost 120,000. E-Trade covered his short position. All right, it was a retail investor, short at $2. The stock went to 20. He got busted. They covered him, and now he owes them 120,000. E-Trade goes after you. That's how it is. That's how it works for us. For these guys, this ZJYL, someone is choking to death. Who's giving them more rope? That's the bigger question. And I think that the prime broker looking at it saying, okay, it's going 20-1. If you're on the edge of the seat right now, when it goes 20-1, we need more money from you. You're dead anyway. So there's a lot of things going against that guy.
Well, you probably have to get ready for Ace's call, but
no. I just did it last night because I came home and I figured I got a lot. Wanted to talk, still ready to go. But I'm actually going to go have got my pizza. I went and picked it up. You guys
Is
you
it
guys
a
all
square
came home
pizza?
No, it's a pepperoni. So I'm going to have my dinner, have a Pepsi, and I'll sit down. If I get the energy, maybe I'll jump on a call later. But I will try to put some spreads together so you guys can see how it works.
No, I mean,
I'll
it's
post it on
pretty.
Twitter.
It's a pretty easy concept. If you went out and bought, I don't know I don't know what they are, but if you bought the finger motion May
Well,
4
you
calls,
do it with a big stock. Do it with a Costco or something. The numbers
Yeah.
are easier. Boeing, do the Boeing 120 calls versus the 130.
the whole point of buying calls is, if you do it right, is you're risking less money than buying the stock. But once you own the
let me give
call,
you an example of a spread.
yeah,
Let's say I bought the Boeing 120 calls. Forget the month; it doesn't make a difference. And
Okay.
I pay the 120s of $5. I can turn around, I can sell, and let's say the stock starts to run up. I can turn around and sell the 130 calls at $4. So it gives me a 10-point spread. All right. 120 to 130 is 10 points. I paid 5 and I took in 4. That means the only dollar I laid out was $1 because I got back 4. But the most I can make is, 10 points. Take away the prices that I paid. That means the most I can make is I only have $1, right? So almost make is 9. That's the only spread I can make in here. That's the most I can make. So you're locking in.
and you could only lose $1 if the stock
I'm
collapses.
locking it, right? So I'm locking in, and that is a way to people legging to those trades. For example, I bought the 120s for $5, and when I bought 5, the 130s maybe $2, and I said, well, I don't want to do it at 2, and I'll wait, and all of a sudden the stock goes my way. The Boeing 130s and the 120s are now $7, which makes the 130s maybe $4 then. And that's how you leg into it, meaning that I'm long the 120s already. As the stock starts to go up, I wait and then I sell the 130s to lock in the spread. There's different ways to do it. So, but if you could do it for free, if I could buy the 120s at 5 and sell the 130s at 5, that means I have a 10-point spread for 0. So that means if the stock closes at 140, the most I can make, is only $10. I don't make $20, 120 to 140. I only make 10. If it goes to 300, I can only make $10. It doesn't make a difference where it goes. That's what the spreads are about. Option guys do that all day long. They do them all. They do them 1 time, 20 times, 50 times. Every time they can get a free spread, they do it. They just keep throwing them up there.
You can also buy calls, sell calls, and then buy a put, and you've basically locked in the potential to make a small profit.
Well, I don't want to tell you. I don't want to.
It gets all confusing.
I don't want to tell people to sell calls to open. I don't want to get to that. A spread is a common, safe procedure. It's nothing crazy. That's a very conservative trading strategy. People buy this stock. You can buy Boeing at 120. You can sell the 120 calls for $4. You take in $4. So your break even is 116 then, because you take away $4 because you took in the money. But if it breaks below 116, then you're just losing more money. That's all.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to do it. Hi, William. I'm going to eat my pizza. Everyone, have a great night.
Thank you very much, Ham. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Call ended.
We can end this call soon. We don't have to keep going. But be or not to be, I think the odds are that ZJYL is going up tomorrow, not down. Once it gets to 250 to 300, once it gets to 300, you might get a pullback, but I think that stock looks like it's going up. But No way really to know. CAUD is sinking to 80 cents. Let me see. Could be. Could be. Look, they did Pit Lolly. They got taken to the cleaners either by the principals at Aubrey SPAC, the lawyers, Chandron Investments, or Brownstone Investments. It's as simple as that. And then the hedge funds are criminals behind them. So what happened, Pit Lolly, is for a year, over a year, with the third party analysis, the stock traded $10 to $12 a share. It then, when it de-SPACed, the stock traded to $38 a share. But some criminal, some evil little weasel at the hedge fund or at Aubrey SPAC or at Shadron or at Brownstone called into NASDAQ and said, hey, this stock can't trade. It only has 50,000 shares. Why? Because the hedge funds put up the initial money for the SPAC to be funded. They took all their money back out. So there weren't a lot of shares trading. But what the person calling in didn't tell the clerk at NASDAQ is, by the way, they're de-SPACing and they're going to have, I forget now what it was, 7,000 or 8,000 million shares traded, and it'll be just fine. So they halted trading on a Wednesday. Somehow they allowed the criminals to sell stock starting on Friday or Monday. For me personally, I didn't have any stock to sell. It's locked up for a week or 10 days. So anyway, Pit Lolly, the criminals have destroyed and stolen, I think, $150 million out of the market cap of CAUD. And it's all because the brain trust decided they should trust the lying faces across the table from themselves because they dress well, their kids go to the same school, and hey, we were in the same fraternity. But make no mistake about it, either I'm going to write a letter. Maybe that'll be the next thing I do. It's the 3 or 4 principals at Aubrey SPAC. One of them still on the board. One or all of them are all criminal conspiratorialists, and or it's the Shadron financial advisor, or it's the lawyer, and or it's the lawyers, and or it's Brownstone, and definitely it's Polar hedge fund and their buddy. So that's what happened, Pit Lolly. Now, when I lost my shite when I saw that announced. I was assured that they weren't going to do a toxic, crappy financing. Well, that was about as bad as it could be. Now, you've got a gentleman at the American Stock Exchange, he's retired now, says this is all algorithmic trading. I think he's smoking dope, but he's a very honest guy. He's very meticulous and he's good at his job. But what he can't accept and what CEOs can't accept is this lie is so big that you have to reject it all of it. But they don't. They say, oh, well, it's just an algorithm. No. What happened with the Aubrey de-SPAC and then CAUD is they absolutely destroyed the market cap. They called into NASDAQ to halt trading. So when it was $38, it opened at $12. And then they had the chance to short the stock And, oh, they're good clients. They'll cover later. No, they're criminals. They sold stock that doesn't exist. And what's the number one rule when you start this crime? Keep selling. Keep selling no matter what. Now, the stock went from 12 down to 85 cents. My friend at the Amex said to me the other day, who could have predicted it could go down to below $1? I kept my mouth shut because that's exactly what I predicted to him. I believe I said it to you, Pit Lolly. It's exactly what I predicted. Now, I got my hopes up on CAUD that there was going to be some activity to the positive in January. But instead, the CEO, Peter Boards, who I've never spoken to and I respect, he did a deal that locked in the lower price for $600,000 with Brownstone. Locked it in at $1.20. To me, it's going lower after you do that deal. To him, to his lawyers, to his board, well, we need the money. We have to do something, and the stock should start going up. Well, that's the whole canard of the whole thing. You have to bust the criminals' game. And so sure enough, the stock kept going down. And now it's 85 cents. And they want to get it under keep it under $1 so it's not NASDAQ listed. Do I have to go through it all again, Pit Lolly? They want any good news to be destroyed so that the per share value, on the top line, it looks like, wow, revenues are going from 70 million to 150 million, but the per share value is destroyed. Now, Pit Lolly, what I've been calling for on this little platform that I seem to have is that Peter Boards, who is a what do you call it? A leader in private equity, a leader in incubating companies, a leader in high technology, we used to call it. I don't know what all this is called now. And he's a leader in ad tech and martech. He's a leader. He's got a huge Rolodex. He's got Elizabeth DeMars and Nadine somebody. He's got the Quisling from Aubrey Spack. That guy should be fired, in my opinion. I don't care if he's a good guy. Get him the F out of there. Hey, it's not you, it's me. We had a good time. You fellas at Aubrey Spack had over a year to do this the right way. But frankly, pal, I'm not impressed. And why the hell are you on the board? If you're trying to protect your investment, well, you know what? I want to give you the same situation you gave to my shareholders. Out the door. You destroyed value for my shareholders, either through sheer incompetence, and in that case, I don't want you on my board, or because you're a lying, cowardly Quisling. And when you did the financing and approved the financing with these hedge funds, you carved out just as much money to make sure you made money, the lawyers made money, and the crappy frontman financial firm made money. 2.5 million. You left my shareholders, I'm speaking as if I'm the CEO, you left my shareholders with $100,000 to run the company. I'm sorry, let me give you the real names. I have it printed out somewhere in there. Of course, my computer is now going slowly, so we'll just let it do what it's going to do. So anyway, Pit Lolly, I would get rid of the representative on the board who is representing Aubrey SPAC. I would no longer do business with any of the principals of Aubrey SPAC. I would fire the attorneys who represented you and me in the Aubrey SPAC transaction. I would get rid of Brownstone Capital. And I would also get rid of Chandron, or whatever the hell the name is. My computer's too slow, so I can't give you the exact names, Pit Lolly. Maybe in a second here. So I'll give you the names in a second. So, Pit Lolly, you know all that. If you've been following me, you know that this de-SPAC and this theft, this sting operation occurred. You've seen my anger. You've seen my, I think, predictive ability about what was going to happen. Oh no, who could predict it go to $1? Me? I said go under $1. I said it repeatedly. Oh no, no. All right, I can't get collective audience on my. Let me turn my computer off. I'll turn it back on. So, Pit Lolly, that's the negatives. And I thank you for bringing it up negatively again. CAUD is sinking to 80 cents. I really appreciate the call to action, the obvious support that you're giving. I appreciate all that. But let me see where the last trade was on CAUD. It's not 80 cents. The low is 81 cents on the day. It closed at 85 cents. The 52-week low was 84 cents. So you're right. It got close to 80 cents today. The high on the year is 38.40. Now, unfortunately, Pit Lolly, what is required here is leadership on the part of Peter Boards. And I believe Peter Boards has that leadership capability. I think he has the skill, the contacts. I hate my computer system. I hate it. Here, let me do it a different way. Okay, here we go. Okay, so one of the persons, Pit Lolly, on the board is Elizabeth DeMars. She's tremendous. She, if you take the time, instead of meanwhile, call it CAUD is sinking. If you, I can't, my computer cannot open these trades. So I'll just do it by memory. She started companies, ran companies, and took them from small to big. Let me just see if I can give you the board members. Okay, here's the board of directors. Elizabeth DeMars is terrific. Nadine Watt from Watt Capital Partners. She also seems to have extensive experience in deal making and success. Then it's Christopher Hart at Aubrey Advisors. He's got to go. Christopher Hart has to go. He's the group CFO. That means he knew exactly what was happening at Aubrey SPAC. That means he was either part of the deal or for all of his brains, he couldn't see it. He's got to go, but he's going to probably stay. But Christopher Hart should be given his walking papers. And then, and hey, Christopher, thanks for everything. You were terrific for a year. But if you're here to protect your investment in CAUD on behalf of Aubrey SPAC, well, you already FUCK'd it for everyone else. Get out of here. Group CFO at Aubrey Advisor. Get rid of him. And then Dennis Duncan at Banking and Capital Markets Partner at PwC. He's an accountant. I don't know. I can't imagine that he's going to have the fearlessness or the courage to step out of the box or the trap the shorts have this company in. But he's probably a good guy to have on there if you can convince him. People will go along with his vote. But that guy doesn't have, I don't know him, but I can't see an accountant having the courage to say to lawyers and to people like Christopher Hart, get out of here. All right. And then there's Brent's son. Brent, I think, is going to be gone because he's got other interests. So you've got this tremendous board of Elizabeth DeMars, Nadine Watt, Dennis Duncan, I don't know much about, and you've got Peter Boards, who is terrific, terrific. You have a COO, Chris Andrews, again, terrific. So I think what's going to happen in Pit Lally, meanwhile, CAUD is sinking to 80 cents. Look, every single stock that Aubrey SPAC I wish I could find, I'd have to go to, I don't have their exact names. I printed them out. I want to get off the subject, but Brownstone Financial and Chadron both should be kicked to the curb. Get away from them. And the other, now, of course, Peter may know some of these people can be trusted. I wouldn't trust any of them. And then the lawyers, get rid of them. And then to Polar Hedge Fund, get out of here. But what's the good news, Pit Lally? And I think it's really good news. I think it's really good news. I think Peter Boards, Elizabeth DeMars, and Chris Andrews, Nadine Watt, and if Brent is still on the board, I think those people have the ability to negotiate with the companies who were going to roll into CAUD when it was $12, $15, $20 before Aubrey SPAC destroyed it, either intentionally or through sheer inability to recognize what was going on. But they get paid the big bucks to completely screw investors. Anyway, let's get off the negatives. That's all happened. That happened last year. And there's nothing, Pit Lolly, we can do to change that. Nothing. But Elizabeth DeMars, Nadine Watt, Brent Sun, and Peter Boards and Chris Andrews can pull this out of the ditch, not slowly. I think it's going to happen rapidly. Why? Those three companies, the CEOs of those 3 or 4 companies that were going to come into this deal when it was $10, before Shadron, Brownstone Capital, the lawyers, Polar Hedge Fund, Aubrey SPAC Principals, one or all of them, put in place the biggest sting operation to steal 150 million in market cap, to steal the profits right up front, and then they're smiling. Hi, we're here to do more business with you. Wasn't that? Oh, no one could have known. That's just algorithmic trading. Oh, that's just the NASDAQ did this. We're still here to help. Get rid of them all. But the good news is those 3, 4, 5 companies, what the criminals try to do is get any prearranged deals agreed between the acquirer and the acquiree for a certain amount of stock. The shorts try to bust those deals by driving the stock downward. So the acquiree says, wait a minute, you're going to give me 500,000 shares of stock, and that was worth 5 million, but now it's only worth $500,000. I don't like this deal anymore. That's what the criminals try to do. That's what Aubrey SPAC's principals, Shadron, Brownstone Financial, their lawyers, and Polar. That's what this group, either one or all together, either as criminal co-conspirators or as the biggest doomkoffs in the room, did. Don't listen to them anymore. But what they tried to do is take all the money from 12 down to under 1. They now want the stock under $1, so it can't be a NASDAQ listed stock, so that when the company goes to raise money, its denominator becomes huge, and that any of these companies that are going to be acquired are going to take massive amounts of stock, so that the criminals who have shorted stock that doesn't exist and they have not covered, and they did it with the knowledge of either Aubrey SPAC's principals, Shadron Financial Advisors, the lawyers who carved out $2.5 million for themselves, Brownstone Financial, and for sure the 2 hedge funds led by Polar. They're all in on it. Or it was just a mole. How do you tell the difference? You can't. Got to get rid of all of them. But Pit Lolly, their strategy works. It causes you to come on and say, oh, it's sinking, which it is. Thanks. We all know that. It's down here. But the best thing of their strategy is the companies that were going to come in and take revenue from 70 million a year to 200 million a year and revolutionize the technology platform walk away, or they demand so many shares that it dilutes the per share value to you, Pit Lolly. That's why the stock goes down. And what people don't recognize is that people across the conference table are lying to them. It's hard because we like to think we're special. We like to think the girl that told us that she loved you and said it over and over and over again. And said, how come you don't tell me you love me? And then when you say you love her. She goes on a string of dates with other people, and you go, wait a minute. She's great. She's wonderful. She loves me. But you're sitting there wondering, part of it, it's called cognitive dissonance, if I pronounced it correctly. Your eyes are telling you something other than your heart is. Your brain is telling you something other than your ego is. And for the life of me, I don't understand why that Aubrey SPAC deal was allowed to go through. Money, payoff, cash, criminality. I don't know who. I don't know if it's Christopher Hart, but he's the one staying on the board. He's either the patsy or the ringleader. But if you look up Aubrey SPAC, Aubrey Advisors, the team at this criminal organization, in my judgment, everything on my videos in my judgment, Jeffrey Tierman, that's the one. I think that's the guy that put the sting on, Jeffrey Tierman. Then Christopher Hart, Peter Baker, Amy Wall, and Miles Tierman. And then you go to Polar Investments, Polar Capital Funds, and they have the typical thing where, oh, wow, our fund's about capacity management. Meet the team. Meet our team. Gavin Rochison, Samir Ayub, Ian Evans, Sandy Black, Bora Kim Tomlinson Khan, Nick Farron, Mike Catlin. And then you've got business development, Ian Evans, Alistair Barry, Adam Schneider, and David Smithwick. Oh, yeah. These are the people that sat, and I forget the name of the other hedge fund. These are the people that set up the sting. They think they're great. Hey, the lawyer said it's okay. But what they do, Polar Capital, Shadron, let me see if that's how you say it. Shadron Capital Markets, I think this is it. Here's another team. Paul McCarvey, Susan Wyka. This might not be the right one. Let's see, past clients. I need to get the thick document out and see how to spell Shadron. It might be Chardon. Let's see if it's Chardon. Yeah, that might be it. Chardin. About Chardin. They're specialized, they're purposeful, they're insightful, and they're unflinching as they reach behind your back and take your wallet. Everything I'm saying, I can't prove. But someone, Pit Lolly, stole $150 million from us. No one's mad except me. And everyone says, oh, bad things happen. Why do they keep happening? Come on, shake the tree. Make somebody angry. That wasn't me. Okay, prove it. Ah, all right. Well, then maybe it wasn't you. Somebody did it. Let's see their team. Their team, FinTech, About. They do SPACs, investment banking. See our capabilities. See our, okay, here it is. Stephen Urbach, Jonas Grossman, Carrie Proper, Chola Amusa, Scott Blakeman, Shai Gerson, George Kaufman, Emily Levine, Ron Glickman, Murat Omur, Alex Wheel, Caitlin Doyle, and David Lederman. We believe in society moving forward. Chardin cares as they advise you to destroy your market cap. And then it's Brownstone, and then it's the lawyers. I'll try to get their name. They've advised Robinhood. Anyway, Pit Lolly, if your point is that the stocks keep going down and somehow you're feeling victimhood, or you're feeling that it was a design by me or others to take that money from you, these are the people you should be asking the questions. Aubrey SPAC was set up over a year ago. They had over a year to roll it out. And these guys have a nice website. They dress well, fancy names. But I'm telling you, a child graduating kindergarten could have done a better rollout of the Aubrey SPAC D-SPAC. Let me give you an example. Well, don't you think we should lock in our deal before we D-SPAC? Why leave it to the vagaries of stock price? Shouldn't we lock in the price with these 3 or 4, the number of shares before we do it? No, let's just leave it to chance. We're amateurs. I'll give you another example. So our two friends at Chardin Capital and Polar Hedge Fund are telling us they can raise $5 million for us at just outrageous, usury. Take a pound of flesh rates. But hey, I knew them. We've worked with them a while. They're friends of ours. But hey, we have some clients that'll put up, no, this is the route to go. All right, you think that's where we should go? Let me ask you something. The $5 million they raise, where's the money going? Well, half is going to go to the lawyers, because down deep lawyers are good. And the other half has gone to Chardin Capital. Well, how much does that leave for the company to go on an ongoing basis? 100,000. What's our burn rate? That's about 500 a month. Well, how are we going to continue as a functioning company? Well, this is the direction we feel we should go, because we're a bunch of amateur kindergartners, or we're doing it on purpose, Now, if I had to choose, whether or not Aubrey Advisors is amateur or complicit, I'd go with the complicit. Jeffrey Tierman, more than 28 years of international investment management experience, specializing in fund management, corporate funding transactions, turnarounds, restructuring. Since the beginning of his career, Jeff has executed several long and complex internal corporate restructurings, turnarounds, reorganizations, recapitalizations, both on behalf of independent shareholders and as a primary shareholder. He has also negotiated, executed, and participated in numerous types of corporate transactions, including public listings, spin-offs, pre-pack bankruptcies. That's pre-packaged. But hey, you don't know that. Let's call it pre-pack. Administration, organizing and leading creditor committees, corporate rationalizations, acquisitions, balance sheet refinancing, as well as analyzing and executing numerous debt and equity investment and capital structure. He's been there since 2015. He received a Bachelor of Business Administration with an emphasis of economics from the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. And then here's your guy, the COO, who's on your board, Pit Lally, Christopher Hart, has over 25 years of Big Four audit, reporting, and strategic business experience. He recently retired from PwC LLP, where he was an audit partner since 2000. London, Lausanne, Tokyo. While you sit there in swelter in your shelter, you can say your rosary on your knees. So long, mama, I'm off to drop the bomber, so don't wait up for me. Mr. Hart has also served as a leader in the SEC Services Group at PwC, responsible for both the oversight of foreign and domestic registrant client SEC filings, including both debt and equity IPOs. Extensive experience with companies preparing to go public, including financial statements and internal control requirements with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, interacting with the SEC and the financial reporting implications of executing growth strategies involving mergers and acquisitions. Mr. Hart has also had many years of experience interacting with public company boards and their audit and finance committees. He has a BA in Business Administration from Furman University. He's also a CPA licensed in Ohio, Georgia, and New Jersey. So those are the two top guys at Aubrey Advisors. Let me ask you, Pit Lally. I don't know. I don't know if you're a real person, but I seem to remember there's such a thing as a Pit Lally. So you're growing them. Let me ask you this. On your farm of Pit Lollies, let's say that you had 3 years in a row, your Pit Lolly crop failed, and you were desperately in need of capital to go buy more Pit Lolly bulbs or seeds to grow a new crop, but you had no choice but to go to the bank, and your only asset was your Pit Lolly farm. You go to Aubrey Advisors. Well, no, Aubrey Advisors goes to Shadron Capital and Brownstone, and then they get a deal that simply must be there delivered overnight. We don't want to talk to any normal investors. We'll do it with Polar. Well, okay, so Pit Lolly, you go into the banking offices of Shadron Advisors, and they say, we will raise $5 million for you so you can get your Pit Lolly farm back on its feet. But out of the 5 million, we're going to pay ourselves $2.5 million, and we're going to pay the lawyers $2.5 million. So we're going to leave you $100,000. And you say, well, wait a minute. I thought the 5 million would be for me, would be at least 1 year's G&A, 1 year's coverage, because Pit Lollies take 18 months to grow. How am I going to pay back this loan? Well, that's your problem. We can help you later on. But for now, hurry, hurry, hurry. If you don't sign right away, the deal you have with other Pit Lolly growers who want to combine their acreage with yours, those deals might go away. So you got to hurry, sign this deal now. Well, let me ask you, do you think Jeffrey Tierman, with more than 28 years of international investment management experience, specializing in corporate funding transactions, turnarounds, restructurings, and workouts, or Christopher Hart, who recently left PwC's offices in London, Switzerland, Tokyo, lead partner on multinational audits, interfacing with the SEC, debt and equity IPOs? Let me ask you something, Pit Lally. Do you think they were qualified to ask one question? Just one question. Do you know Shadron Financial? You say that Polar Investment Fund is coming. It's a $8 trillion fund or $8 billion fund, whatever it is. Rather than raising $5 million, do you think they could raise 10 million? So that all of our financial needs are met for the next 18 months and we don't have to go to market again? Or to put it in Pit Lally growing terms, you're talking to the banker, you know, since you're taking 2.5 million for yourself and you're giving 2.5 million to the lawyer, you're leaving 100,000 for my Pit Lollies for 18 months. Do you think you could raise 10 million since I'm putting my entire farm up for collateral instead of 5 million, so I can cover all my expenses and I can do the mergers with the Pit Lally farm down the lane, the Pit Lally farmer across the county line, and the Pit Lally farmer just up the hill from me, so we can merge into a much bigger Pit Lally operation. Let me ask you, do you think these principles of Aubrey SPAC, if they were looking out for the interests of shareholders and they have all this experience, would have asked that question? Do you think they would have noticed, with their experience of turnarounds and restructurings and IPOs and debt financings, do you think they would have taken a moment to ask, well, wait a minute, if we do this deal for $5 million, we don't have anything left. Our company is going to be in dire trouble. And your promises to provide financing later just don't cut it. We've been through this before. We need 10 million, not 5 million. To put it in Pit Lally terms, you're a Pit Lally grower. Wouldn't you have asked your banker, hey, you're raising 5 million for me and it's going out to lawyers and the sleazeball investment banker leaving me nothing. Why should I do that deal? I'm going to lose my farm of Pit Lollies. And what's to boot? The other 3 Pit Lally farms I intended to agglomerate into my Pit Lally enterprise, they're going to disappear. You don't think that Christopher Hart, who's on the board of CAUD, and Jeffrey Tierman didn't have the brain power to ask that one simple question for the survival of CAUD and in their role as having responsibility to all shareholders? Or were they doing that so that their partners in crime at Polar Capital could strip 100 million or 150 million in market cap and then give them either directly or by doing other deals a piece of the action at Aubrey Advisors. I don't know. I find it impossible to believe that Jeff Tierman, if he were straight, would have signed that deal. Not with 28 years of experience. So pardon me for believing that Aubrey SPAC principals, Aubrey Advisors are full of criminals. I can't prove it. But remember, the lawyers say it's okay to strip money from the market cap. It's all okay, the lawyers say, because lawyers are so honest. Let me ask you, the financial advisors at Chardin, let's go with the co-founder, Stephen Urbach. Well, he is responsible for general oversight and direction of Chardin's operation. His career included Chase Manhattan Bank, where he was an analyst. I don't know if this is the same one, in the textile and apparel industry. And then he was a senior equity trader and market maker in NASDAQ securities at Windsor Capital Advisor. He's from Ithaca College. It's sounding like the right one. And then Jonas Grossman, president. Banking and capital market activities. He's led or managed more than 400 transactions, including providing underwriting and business combination advisory service to more than 100 special purpose acquisition companies, SPACs. He went to Cornell and NYU Stern's School of Business. And he gets his conscience assuaged serving on the board of directors at UNICEF. Pitlolly, let me ask you the same question. Do you think the people at Chardin recognized that if they only raised $5 million, paid themselves $2.5 million, paid the lawyers $2.5 million, and left the SPAC with $100,000, they were leaving the SPAC as a carcass on the svelte, on the savannah, so that the lions and cheetahs and hyenas could bite into it, driving it from $12 down to 80 cents? Do you think Jonas Grossman couldn't see that? Do you think for a moment that Chardin couldn't say to the principals, both at DataLogic and at Aubrey SPAC, you know, you really should raise $10 million instead of $5 million, because you're not going to have any capital. And then all the people shorting the stock will drive it down because they know you're going to be in desperate need of capital and you're going to have to raise money. So they'll drive it down under $1. You don't think Jonas Grossman didn't know that? I accuse Chardin and Aubrey SPAC of being part of a conspiracy to strip investors of $150 million, either through sheer incompetence or outright intent. So anyway, Pitlolly, if you put it in terms of your own business, you would never sign a deal like that. And you would fire the advisor or the lawyer that told you to do it. So why would the Aubrey SPAC partners, the sub LLC, the sub special purpose vehicle, agree the deal? Kickback? Sharing in profits? Future deals? part of an organized criminal effort? Possibly. Possibly. So, Pit Lolly, I'm not impressed, and you got me going again. It's not your fault. It's my fault. But you got me going again at the horrendous in the daylight theft that was caused by these people who earn more money. Their expense accounts in 1 year are bigger than most people's salaries. And they hold themselves out with their degrees and their experience as advisors and moneymakers. Aubrey Spack lost everything. Well, how's that possible? Audrey Advisors, how's it possible? Unless it was planned for, and they direct it to their buddies at Brownstone Capital and Polar and the other one. Pit Lolly, CAUD is at 80 cents because it was a pre-planned sting operation. It was planned. And they're all guilty. They're all guilty. Now, going back to where we are today, not yet last year. That's why the stock's at 80 cents, because the criminals, in my opinion, and in my judgment, and until they prove me wrong, I accuse them. Aubrey Advisors, Shadron Advisors, Brownstone and their lawyers, and certainly their hedge fund clients. They pre-planned and they destroyed Data Logic, and they stole money from you. They're thieves. They are thieves. So why am I optimistic on CAUD now? The risk is that Aubrey Advisors is still on the board, and that guy has to go. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. But he's only one vote, so they can get around it. The other risk is that guy that's an accountant, he probably, he probably wouldn't allow his pencils to be in the wrong place on his desk. And he keeps a very careful calculation of how much gasoline he buys at each stop and what his mileage is in his car. And he pre-plans his vacations 9 months in advance. And, that kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be the person that saves CAUD. So you got two board dealers that are board members who, in my opinion, at best are dead weight. And at worst, one of them is in there as a mole to make sure that CAU fails so that the other side of Aubrey's plans work magnificently. Of course, I can't prove anything. It's in my judgment. It's with the evidence I just read. It's my opinion. I think the evidence is in the stock price. So you got those two. But Pit Lolly, what's great is you've got Peter Boards, who is extremely impressive. You've got Nadine Watt, very impressive. And you've got Elizabeth DeMars, who is single-handedly, all by herself, impressive from her past abilities. Then they've created a brain trust of other people they brought in and the CEO, COO. So, Pit Lolly, I'm going to get to my point. I think CAUD within 90 days is going to be a completely different company. I think that Peter Boards is going to be able to convince investors to put up money at a higher stock price than 80 cents, foiling all of the plans of these criminals with the smiling faces and the degrees, and their nails never are dirty, and they can go to the club. Get rid of those parasites. They're all parasites. Nobody at Aubrey Advisor added any value. They're parasites. Nobody at Chardon Capital added any value. Parasites. And I don't think Brownstone did either. They did a deal at $600,000, locking in the lower price value at $1.20. But maybe that was contractual. Maybe that was just short term. That little aspect of it, I'm willing to give a mulligan. So what does it leave, Pit Lolly? What does it leave? It leaves 3 powerful board members who I think collectively can convince current shareholders to come in, let's say at $5 or $7 a share. Now, they may have to give a slug of private warrants or some sort of private bell and whistle that's not publicly trading. It's not available to the criminals. It's only available to these high net worth investors who Peter Boards knows personally. Because, Pit Lolly, if you take the value of Data Logic as verified by a third party analyst who does it as a business, 114 million, which is the low end. It was under the low end of their range. One of the comparables was $2 billion, 2 billion with a B. They took 114 million as the price. If you use that as your numerator and you use the number of shares extant as the denominator, it works out to around $7 to $8 a share. Now, the goal of the people at Aubrey and the people at Chardon, not the algorithmic computerized trading. No, the goal of these criminals is to get CAUD to issue a lot of stock at 50 cents, 70 cents to continue. And I go back to my question, Pit Lolly. How credible is it to believe that there isn't a criminal on the board of CAUD today or representing a criminal organization? It's not hard to believe. I think the onus is on them to prove why would they recommend doing a $5 million deal that left the company nothing and trapped the company into a financial nightmare. Why would they recommend that? Why, when Aubrey, they're so professional, they had over a year to make sure this rollout happened professionally and without a glitch? Can you see a rollout with that? Can you imagine anything that would be worse than what they did? Do you think Aubrey SPAC and Chardon Financial Advisors and the attorneys who were SEC attorneys, do you think they could have called the SEC and said, when we de-SPAC, there's likely to be a span of time of Thursday where for one day, there's not enough shares trading for us to be listed on NASDAQ. However, you can see in our documents we've been providing you for over a year that by Friday, we're going to have millions of shares trading. You don't think they could have prepared NASDAQ for that? And finally, I already mentioned this question. You don't think they would have advised CAUD, the new company, prior to it being CAUD? We believe if part of your strategy is to roll up 3 or 4 companies into CAUD with Data Logic, we have done hundreds of these deals before. We believe it's important that you get definitive agreements, locked in number of shares, and that the deals are not dependent on the price of how Data Logic, CAUD, trades in the short run when it becomes freely trading after it's de-SPACed. You can't leave that to chance. So those 3 questions, Pit Lolly, those 3 questions to me are proof that Aubrey Advisors, Chandron Capital, possibly Brownstone, I don't know, the lawyers, and Polar and the other hedge fund were all in on it together. They were all in on it together. It was a sting operation. But Pit Lolly Grower. So that's something I told you months ago. That's something I kept telling you. I did say I think in December, after talking with the company, I really believed that you were going to get these companies rolling in. There was going to be good news, and it was a good time to buy in the dollar something range. Now it's 80 cents. But at the risk of being wrong again, I think Peter Boards, Elizabeth DeMars, and Nadine Watt are not part of any kind of criminality that happened. And conspiracy to suppress the stock price, conspiracy to defraud investors is criminal activity. And if you're part of it, you're aiding and abetting it. If you're pretending you don't see what's going on, lots of luck. So those 3 guys, though, Elizabeth, Nadine, and Peter, and the CEO, COO, and Brent, as long as Brent is there, I think they can transform CAUD into a completely different situation without issuing stock at these low prices. I think, let's use $7 to $8. They can bring in money from shareholders willing to put up money, maybe in that range, maybe as a senior convertible note at $7 or $8, plain vanilla, private deal, not given to these criminals. But it converts maybe at $7 or $8. Now, what gives them an inducement? Number one, guys, this price is fraudulent. Let's go back to what the value is. But since you're helping out, we'll give you, a slug of warrants at $10. Short duration, maybe 6 months, 9 months. They're not going to be out there forever. And we'll make them cashless so you don't have to put up new money. Then I think that Peter, Elizabeth, and Nadine can talk to these 3 or 4 companies and bring them into the fold at CAUD all at once. And I think they can do it at $7 or $8. Now, don't get mad at me if it's at $5, whatever, at a price higher than 80 cents. Same thing follows. They might have to say, we will have a true up later if we're not able to achieve 200 million in annualized revenue. But Pit Lolly Grower, CAUD Data Logic was projected to leave this past year with 70 million annualized revenue. If these 3 or 4 companies come in and they're able to add 100 million or 150 million to that revenue number, all of a sudden you have a company doing 200 million, on annualized basis in revenue, high margin, and they're on the cutting edge of the new ad tech, MarTech marketplace. And they're listed hopefully on the NYSE instead of NASDAQ. And they're selling at a price of $25, $30, $35. The shorts are in trouble. But as long as the board listens to Aubrey SPAC or listens to Chadron, they're at the risk of being screwed and permanently screwed. I don't know what more good advice the board needs to get from Jeffrey Tierman or Christopher Hart or from the principals at Chadron Finance or their lawyers. Tell me, Pit Lally, are those the three organizations that are going to save your 80 cents or my 80 cents? I said, pox on all three of their houses. Get them the hell away from here. I will put my faith with Peter Boards, Elizabeth DeMars, and Nadine Watt, Brent Sun, and the new COO. And I think, Pit Lally, if you can wait 90 days, you're going to see a transformed company. You're going to see a company fully funded, and you're going to see a company with 3 or 4 other companies rolled into it. And I think the revenue numbers, the profit numbers are going to be indisputable, much, much higher. And I think Aubrey Advisors and Chadron should be ashamed of themselves. And the lawyers that advised them should be ashamed of themselves. All right. I'm going to leave it there, Pit Lally. All right. Colin C., I'm not going to ramble anymore, and I'm not going to go on about the same subject. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to say good night.